A question for you. If emotion drives 80% of decision making, why are salespeople still back in the dark ages selling on logic and not emotion? So let's get to work right now on converting hot prospects into appointments with the focus on emotion and not logic. This is step 3 in the 7-step process, how to get best use out of sales psychology. And if you haven't seen steps 1 to 2, you'd highly recommend it to check them out first, so as to get maximum benefit from this step 3. Welcome to Sharper Business. So to help us get best use out of the sales psychology, let's have a look at the 4 key features. Number 1, we need to win the prospect's respect. 2, people buy an emotion backed up with logic. And 3, people prefer to buy from people that they know, like and trust. And number 4, people just don't want to be sold to. So now let's have a look at these in greater detail. So we're now going to have to win the buyer's respect. How do we do that? Well, a simple way, of course, is to start paying respect. And what's a good way to do that? Is start to show how much we care. People don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. And we need to make a genuine effort right now in demonstrating to the prospect that we care enormously about what matters to him or her. And the way we're going to do this is a little unusual, in the sense that salespeople talk about the sales cycle. Now we're going to talk about the buyer's buying cycle. And we're going to get the buyer to talk to us about his decision-making process. And this is where it becomes really exciting. The very fact that we're endeavoring to show that we care are so important to him and how he goes about making his decision is going to be really helpful for us in winning respect. So how do we do that? Well, of course, we can't just say, what's your buying cycle? That's not going to go down too well. And a simple way to do it is, Mr. Prospect, in my company there are 5 major reasons why customers come to us, and the same 5 major reasons why they tend to stay with us year after year. And do you mind if I share those 5 reasons with you? Number 1, it tends to be on brand. Number 2, it's environment. Number 3, it's price or return on investment. 4 is safety, and 5 is quality. Tell me, Mr. Prospect, of those 5 reasons, which of those is the most important to you? And I now say to salespeople, when you ask that question, leave it, stop and wait. And wait as long as it takes, because while you're waiting, he's thinking. And if you wait long enough, he'll tell you why. And when he does, I'm going to say that's really interesting and that's really helpful. Would you be good enough, Mr. Prospect, and tell me how and why you say that? And again, when I ask that question, I wait for the answer. And I will encourage him to talk as much as he can about how he got to making that his decision. And the more I delve into it and the more he talks about it, the closer we are to getting a sale. Because while he's talking, he's buying. And I'm listening, and I'm paying attention, and I'm taking note, because I'm going to recall it much later in the sales process as to the number 1 reason why he would buy our product or service. And when we're done with that, I'm then going to say, Mr. Prospect, I found that really interesting and very helpful, that you should choose that as your number 1 reason. Would you now be good enough to tell me what would be your 2nd reason? And I will follow the same process. I'll wait for the answer. And I'll encourage him to tell me why it's so important and how he got to making that decision. This, my dear friends, is how we win respect. This is how we get to understand what matters to the prospect. This is how we demonstrate to the prospect that we're asking the right questions and listening to what matters to them and not to us. We're not going to talk about people buying an emotion backed up with logic, because we are in no doubt that emotion drives 80% of decision making. And whilst that's true, why do salesmen continue to choose to struggle in dealing with logic? Why would that be? Because it is so much easier to deal with logic than emotion. In fact, there are some salespeople who say, I don't deal in emotion and feelings. And I tell you, to be incredibly successful as a salesperson, they will need to deal with feelings and emotion. So much so that they need to understand that they also need to be able to help their prospects who've also got problems dealing with emotion and feelings. So they will continue to deal with logic because it's easier. Because you see, to talk about benefits and features and price and return on investment and stats and data is quite simple and quite straightforward. It's easy to learn. It's easy to deliver, but it doesn't always help make the sale. So the salesman needs to get involved in dealing with emotion. If we refer to the previous example, when winning respect, and we got the customer to tell us that his major reason for choosing our product or service would be, shall we say, quality. And having identified that, we're going to say, and can you elaborate on that? Can you qualify that further? Why do you choose quality? And as we head into emotion, the exciting thing about here is we're moving away from the product and service, and we're starting to hone in on the customer. So we're going to tell Mr. Customer, tell me why you choose quality. And he's told. And then further, why would you choose that? And then tell me, Mr. Customer, if you had this product right now, what difference would it make to you? How would it make you feel? In what way would it help you? How important would it be to you? And go through that in as much depth as you can. Encourage him to tell you about the difference it would make, how he would feel about it, how helpful it would be, how important it would be to him. And then we're going to talk about, can you tell me how it would affect other people in your sphere of influence, i.e. the people that matter to you? How would it affect them? Because we need to know how much weight this is going to have on his decision making. And he will tell us. And when we get him to talk about the difference it makes, and how he feels about it, and how much helpful it is, and how important it will be to him, then we're going to burst his bubble a little. And we're going to say, and what if you didn't have it? Talk about the loss, because you know what? People work harder to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. And we'll get him to talk about the loss it would be if you didn't have it. We'll say, how would you feel if your competitors had the advantage over you? How would that make you feel? What difference would that make to you? How important would that be to you? And as we continue in that area, we'll do the same for his other major reason why he would choose our product. And get again to talk about the difference, the feelings it would have. Because I will tell you that people will forget what we say. And they'll forget what we do. But they'll never forget how we make them feel. So now let's focus on number 3. People don't want to be sold to. And that's a fact. Why? They feel pressurized, manipulated. They feel the salespeople aren't listening. They feel the salespeople aren't interested. They feel manipulated because frequently they'll consider the salespeople are smooth talking and will answer all their objections quickly, making it difficult for the prospect to say no and making them feel uncomfortable. So it's very important that the salesman goes out of his way to come across as being non-salesy, with the focus on the customer. Not what it is I want to say, but what the customer has to say. They say salespeople should listen more than they talk, and that's very good advice. They're told they've had 2 ears and 1 mouth, and they should do twice as much listening. That's not all bad. But what's more important is asking the right questions and then listening and taking a note of the answers. Because to listen alone can mean that you take on board a lot of garbage. So you need to concentrate and focus that the questions are relevant to the product or service that you're selling. You see, buying motives are a zillion times more relevant, more helpful, and more important than all the sales techniques under the sun. Now let's move on to number 4. People prefer to buy from people that they know, they like, and they trust. So how are you going to achieve that? If you go out of your way to get to know, to get to like, and to trust the prospect. Wouldn't it be a wonderful day's work when you go back to your office and said, I really got to know him. I really got to like him. I really trust him. I would love to do business with him, not just for my commission, but because he seems like the sort of person I'd like to do business with. You know, I put the question to a salesman, would you sell this product or service to your sister, particularly if there was no commission? And the answer has to be yes, provided it meets all her needs. So, of all the professional tips on salesmanship, the most important at this early stage in the sales process has to be to get to know the buyer's buying cycle. And as we move deeper into the sales process now, we've all heard how important and how critical the first 15 seconds of the sales call are. And to get to know more about what to say and what not to say during these 15 seconds, please click here. And until then, please give us a like and let us have your thoughts and comments below. To join our community, just hit the subscribe button and be notified of future videos on this sharper business channel. and thank you for viewing.